We all know we love the blue. Where the stars and bars line up behind you. And you know the cops were cool till I stormed the Capitol.
All right. Welcome to the Eighth Note Sessions. I'm Devin Mullen.
And I'm Mike Shamil.
And today we're joined by Don Wegrzynowski in staple music place, Nietzsche's. How we doing, Don?
Good, sir. How about yourself? It's good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So the reason I asked Don on the show is because if you haven't had the chance to when you're out at Nietzsche's, you can see Don working the door. He's keeping an eye on the scene, making sure everyone's behaving and acting respectable. But he's also a musician himself. He plays with Righteous Villains.
Yep.
You have a residency here.
Every Thursday, 6 to 8.
And what kind of music is it?
Blues.
I had the pleasure of listening to some recordings you sent me, and I was hearing covers of B.B. King, Thrill Is Gone, a lot of Taj Mahal and the original stuff. And what I really appreciated about it was you weren't bending to tropes too much. You have fun politics and fun like twists of phrases and ideas. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that with your music.
Absolutely. We try not to be like... We try not to keep everything like, you know, bad woman done me wrong song every time, you know. And
you mean you don't want to play the blues scale and say the same 5 things in 10 songs?
And 10 songs, right. And we're all, as a group, we're all politically conscious, socially conscious, and we're all pretty much on the same page. And that's like the one song... I don't think I had a chance to send it to you, but Cody and I wrote it. It's called Cops Were Cool Until I Stormed the Capitol.
Yes.
And
I have gotten to hear that one. That one cracked me up.
They've been my favorite of the bunch. Yeah.
And, Cody and I wrote that, the lyrics for that by text. One night at about 3 a.m, we had talked about it, working the door, and then like I send him like the first verse, and then he sends me the second verse, and then we came up with the chorus together, and then we wrote the last verse. And it's just like, now we just need to put it to music, and then like a week later we got together with Brian, and boom, it was a song, and we did it that Thursday.
I think it came out really well.
Thanks.
Cody's a previous guest on the show too, and he's always wonderful to sort of have that back and forth with. Where does your musical life start? When did you start playing?
I started playing drums when when my brother went to Vietnam. He had a drum kit in the basement, and then I started banging on him. My father made me took lessons. So
you're supportive?
Yes. No, my father was a horn player himself, so.
That's right. He actually had some notable gigs, too, you had talked about.
Yeah, my first concert was to go see my father and Ray Charles' horn section at Melody Fair.
Oh, that's cool.
So
really, it's definitely been something that's accompanied you throughout your life.
Absolutely.
Why is that for you?
Again, my dad was a musician. I was brought up with music. You could hear him playing in the basement like every night, every day before he went or after when he did whatever it was he had to do. And he would go down the basement, and he actually had a box built so he could put his trumpet in and play, and it was muted, and all you heard was very soft sounds coming out of the basement.
That's brilliant, because as a musician in the city, it's always a challenge to find ways to play music at home.
Right.
Everyone has kind of dealt with it, especially it's the worst when you're a renter, because you have paper-thin walls and you can practically hear your neighbor snoring every day.
Absolutely.
So having like a way you can play at home without anyone going, hey, knock it off, is brilliant.
Right.
and horns are not quiet instruments, and throwing a mute in it would just kind of change the vibe. So that's really clever.
Yeah, he was a MacGyver-ish kind of guy. So
did he build that himself, or?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
he did a lot of stuff around the house I couldn't even imagine doing myself. You know, he would try and show me stuff, but he came up with some fairly inventive solutions to household problems. So
I bet you look at the wiring of some old Buffalo houses, and it's really some kind of alchemy going on there.
Yeah.
Just the thinking with it.
Oh yeah, we had to do our house a couple years ago, and then it's been a piece by piece project, and like we had to have a patch of roof done so we could get windows put in, and they pulled off like all this old wiring. The wiring in the upper, you know, the northwest portion of the house was still like the cloth covered wiring from the 30s. Wow. And we're sitting there, I'm like, wow, and we haven't burned down yet.
But I mean, that's kind of the story of Buffalo in a lot of ways. I mean, it's ingenuity, it's surviving, it's somehow we're still here.
Somehow
the cloth wiring, it didn't catch.
And now, we're getting a good word nationally, you know, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Although I get a lot of people that come here. I work the door Friday, Saturday, and they come here, you know, like the concierge or the taxi driver, they told them they wanted to go hear live music, and they said, well, you got to go to Nietzsche's. And they come here, and they did not think much of Buffalo when they got here because the reputation. And then they go like, this is like the coolest city. This is the coolest bar I've ever been at. You know, I'm like, just don't tell too many people. We don't, you know, we don't want to ruin it.
Right. We don't want it to become like the latest yuppie nightclub.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That one, we don't want to be that touristy city that, you know, that gets ruined because people come here for whatever reason.
I may have my numbers wrong here, but Nietzsche's has been putting on live music every night for
40 years.
40 years, almost half a century. How does that happen? How does that work?
Well, right now we have Mike Moretti and Jace booking, who doesn't get paid what he's worth. I'm pretty sure, but and we have. Like, this is a fill-in for the residency, Tyler Westcott's residency. But Monday through Thursday, we have the same 4 bands. Friday is a rotating residency, but, you know, every Friday. Then Celtic Sessions on Saturday, and Philippone on Sunday, and Jazz Cache on Sunday night. But the rest of the nights are all taken care of Mike, and he just, you know, he's got a list of bands, and people are always asking, and we have cards behind the bar, and they want to get booked here.
Oh yeah, and I mean outside of the residencies and just the shows you've described, I've seen hip hop here, reggae, EDM, weird experimental art installations.
Yes.
I mean it's really kind of like a meeting ground for all different forms of music.
Absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of the place, is because no matter what style of music you play, it's here for music. And I think most of it's a musician's hangout, whether it's, you know, some country guy sitting next to me, sitting next to the metalhead, you know, on the other side, and we're all talking about a jazz guy. So it's all about the music, you know, and to support, you know, each other, no matter what the form.
You said that that community value, that solidarity, that's something that you really like about Buffalo.
Absolutely. Even in the worst years, you know, I mean, like, and I've been here, you know, I'm 63 years old. So, you know, when I was growing up, I remember this supposedly being, you know, a great city. You know, this was, you know, the history of all the acts that came through here, and then the steep decline. And throughout it all, it was the people that no matter how crappy it got, you know, in the city, and, you know, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and it's the people that always coming together that no matter what always made it, you know, survivable, and it made it enjoyable. You know, you could always count on going somewhere and having a bunch of people, you know, that are going to make it worthwhile.
You guys got a friend around the corner.
Yeah,
so to speak.
absolutely.
That scrappy reputation of Buffalo really does shine, especially in the music scene.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of creative things during the pandemic. We've seen a lot of creative things with people just trying to keep music going. What do you think musicians need to kind of keep on their radar to continue to be inventive?
I think you just have to keep your ears and your mind open. I mean, hear something you like, no matter what. But for your own craft, you just have to keep going at it and keep your mind open, and again, like as we try to do, is to not be form, to not be strict. You have to follow this rule, because this is what, this is the kind of music you play, and you have to do this way. Well, screw you. I'm going to do it whatever way pops in my head and entertains us. And that's why I like, the guys we play with. We have fun with that.
There's definitely a pervasive, anti-authoritarian vibe in Nietzsche's that I really like.
You think?
Yeah, I do think. And kind of to leapfrog off that, I mean, it's got to be really interesting working the door at a venue that's so radically open, where part of your job is keeping a kind of order, but not being an authoritarian about it. How do you approach your job in a way that produces peace?
Well, first when people come, you should, you're the face of the franchise. Let's put it that way. You shouldn't, you should be the guy that makes them want, like, if everybody's like this, here's like this is cool. You have to be yes, and the guy in charge, but you don't have to be a dick. And I always look at it myself is I'm here, like, I want everybody to have a good time. The only time I should ever have to say anything is if your good time interferes with his. And then you can just talk to the guy. 99% of the time, everybody that comes here, they want to catch a buzz, listen to music, and then go home happy. So 99% of the time, so dude, maybe you just might want to think whatever, and they, sorry, and the night goes on.
Maybe don't roundhouse kick the people around you.
Right.
But think about it.
Yeah. Maybe don't elbow the guys on either side of you in the nose every 3 seconds. No
MMA in the mosh.
No MMA in the mosh.
Unless it's MMA in the mosh night.
Right.
Right.
No, they're probably never going to ever have
we used to have
night.
a sign here, so no moshing. There was 2 up here, and there was 1 in the back, or up front. Because, guys, people will get hurt.
Yeah, moshing's definitely, it's changed. I'm not going to weigh in whether for the better or not, because that's a controversial discussion.
Well, I've never been a connoisseur, so I
feel like it's gotten more respectful. I mean, the last handful of punk shows have been in the pit. There's been this unspoken respect. Like if someone gets clobbered and falls over, or their shoe falls off, people usually stop and either pick the person up or make a little space to kind of block all the dancers so they can get their shoe back on.
So they can get their shoe back on.
Yeah. And then you throw them back in the pit and you're like, all right.
Well, yeah. That, of course.
Get back out there.
Back to the Lions.
It's definitely got more socially responsible, for sure.
A lot less blood than the old days.
Yeah, but I almost think that's kind of the point of moshing, is that it's supposed to be very primal and bloody on some level.
Maybe.
I think that's where the exercise comes from. Just in the scenes that I run kind of came to be in. Periphery punk, people who don't fit anywhere and they just got to rage. It's probably a good thing that it's not that violent, but I'm just saying there's different ways to look at it.
You could also look at it as cardio work, I guess.
Yeah. Who needs Pilates when you can windmill?
That's right. See?
I'll tell you, after I've gotten kicked in the chest, I've never breathed so clear. So there you go. So stepping outside just the walls of Nietzsche's for a second and into the broader context. We live in a time of a lot of spectacular problems. Whether whether it's the current, war in the Ukraine, whether it's climate collapse, whether it's political domestic problems here at home. Has music served as a kind of pilot light for you through that?
Absolutely. If it was, boil it down to the end of the day. I mean, and I don't remember who said it, but it's at the end of the day. No matter what's troubling you, music is there to, music is there to heal it. I mean, I can throw a pair of headphones on, or I can crank my stereo up on 11, and
And who you been listening to these days, would you say?
Well, as I think I told you before, I'm a huge Government Mule fan. I went to see him in August. It was my 56th time. Going to see him New Year's. I won't be working New Year's. Sorry, Dave. I'm finally going to go see him on New Year's at the Beacon.
Oh, sweet,
wonderful.
I still listen to a lot of the old guys, Coco Montoya, Walter Trout, Rick Estrin and the Nightcats, which used to be Little Charlie and the Nightcats. Little Charlie Beatty is dead, but Rick Estrin took over. Has Kid Anderson on guitar now. If you ever give a chance, listen to that. If you want to hear some tongue-in-cheek and lyrics and double entendres, they're full of them.
That's right up my alley.
Yeah, and that's where we do a couple of Little Charlie and the Nightcats too, and we do like 3 or 4 of them.
Right on.
And that's all tongue-in-cheek, Like one of them we do is as a public service announcement for the ladies, is dump that chump, and but there's Anna Popovic who's fairly recent, Albert Gomez who's fantastic, he's Canadian, Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I just went to see him with Buddy Guy, so that was a great bridge show with Kingfish, Chris Stone, Kingfish.
Oh wow!
Then Kenny Wayne Shepherd, then Buddy Guy, and then at the end of the show they all played together.
What a chronology! Too.
Yeah, the new guy, the middle, the bridge, back to the origins. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful. And that's the kind of show that brings tears to your eyes. Tears of joy. So.
Good.
Don't tell anybody.
Don told me the softest thing the other day. You would not believe it. Soft. I didn't think there's anything soft about him. He threw me out last week now.
But he was crying tears of joy while he was doing it. So.
It's true.
I'm rid of him now.
He's so happy to see him go.
This is so much fun.
Now, as a musician with a lot of experience, I always like to pick people's brains and find out what we could pass on to younger musicians. Younger bands that want to come and play here, other than getting the card for the booking team, what are the things that they should know?
What are the things they should know?
Yeah. Before they walk in the door with their guitar and go, can I play here?
First off, be prepared. Have your material prepared. Don't expect, first off, if you're going to play the front, have your own mics, cables, and stands.
Yep.
Take advice from the guys who have been here. Like, I get people to come up in the front and they want to crank the PA, and Patrick Jackson will be there and, or I'll be there and go, no, you want to do this. And believe me, I do this every week. And they're like, no, and I know what I'm doing. Okay. And you've never touched it. But know your material, have your material prepared, have your own stuff. Don't expect anything, to be done for you, and just have a positive attitude. Bring your A game. That's what I always say. Yeah.
That's good advice.
Just bring your A game.
This is good life advice. Just do the best you can.
No
one can ask any more than
That's
that.
it. Show up. Get up, dress up, show up, do whatever you can, man. Always do the next right thing.
Always do the next right thing. So, Don, what I like about talking to you is you always have this like very warm, welcoming energy, but I know you carry around a lot of shit in the background. You know, you're not like, you know, a tough guy, but you're a tough guy. You know. We've talked a little bit to. You mentioned that your brother had served in Vietnam, and we haven't gotten into the specifics of it too much, and that's okay. But there's definitely been a long line of military service in your family, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
And that extends to current events in the Ukraine.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. I was wondering, as our news cycles are getting more geared towards domestic scandals and the election cycle, and you know,
and there's just not enough domestic scandals to go around.
Oh, never ending, never ending. You know,
I believe they're going to be starting the domestic scandal channel pretty soon.
God, don't give them ideas.
the DSC, you know, for you and me.
There you go. Yeah.
I just wanted to get some insight as someone who has family that's currently, you know, fully embroiled in what's going on in the Ukraine. Is there anything you wanted to just share about what's happening? How are they doing?
Well, it's kind of funny because I have a cousin from Germany who's retired German Special Forces, cousin from Poland who's retired Polish Special Forces. When the whole thing first happened, they gathered up about 100 of their closest friends and went in and as volunteer, sort of their own insurgent unit, working with NATO intelligence and the Ukrainian military. And I also have family in the Ukraine. Only one that I know of was military, and the rest were civilians. They've been displaced. Their homes are gone. Two of them are living in Toronto, and two of them are living in New York. And two of them are now, actually, well, they're in volunteer forces, but in back line. They're definitely not
like
warrior types,
TDF?
let's put it that way. So, but from the get-go, I think the spirit of Eastern Europe has prevailed and it's completely surprised the world.
Oh yeah.
I get phone calls as I think I told you, in weird hours of the night because they're 6 to 8 hours ahead of us. So they're calling me noon their time. It's 4 a.m. our time, and they're wanting to chat and like talk about blowing up tanks and blowing up, supply depots and
they're giving them hell. I mean,
and they really are.
Hell yeah.
They really are.
Anyway, there was one night, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and my cousin called me and he goes, "Hold on, what does this sound like?" and that was a tank blowing up. And he's like, and it was like
wild.
there was like 2 or 3 of them, and he's like, what sounds better than you singing the blues? boom, boom, boom. He's like, those are Russian tanks blowing up. Have a good day. So, but I think they've completely surprised the world, and they've exposed the Russian military for the farce that it was.
So, have you actively served yourself?
A long time ago.
Long time ago. Have you found that being in either directly or indirectly, just a half century of war and conflict, does it ever change? Does it ever get any easier getting the news? Do you ever feel more prepared for it, or is it just what it is?
You get jaded. I think, I grew up during the Vietnam era.
Right.
And in my time, I can't remember us not being really involved in some conflict somewhere, however small. I think someone did the math, and in our entire history, we've got a total of 14 years where we haven't been involved in a conflict somewhere.
And they're probably all scattered around.
Yes, yeah. There's maybe a year here, 2 years here,
Yeah.
It's like a total of 14 years.
There was a Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, there was a Labor Day
Yeah,
weekend. We didn't invade or fight anybody,
There was a good barbecue going on. We just couldn't miss it.
Yeah, we
Next
couldn't
week
miss
we had to
it.
start
And,
something.
matter of fact, both sides, they called a truce. Everybody had a barbecue. And then after Labor Day, they went back and they started fighting. So,
So, is there any? I mean, you have people doing really extraordinary things to get involved and support. I mean, as you said, people from Poland and Germany, also Americans just going overseas.
Right.
I assume our average listener is not, probably not at that stage, or if they're watching a music podcast, I don't
Right.
assume they're going to form their own paramilitary group. But what's who knows these days?
well, you can never tell. I mean,
Yeah, you never know. Are there any ways that people can materially and effectively provide help?
there are, and actually, I have a poster up front that has a direct link where you can choose your charity. You can support either the Ukrainian military directly, or there's like half a dozen humanitarian organizations. If you go down to the Dnipro Center on Genesee Street, every Friday and Saturday they have fundraisers, and they have the same information. That's where I got the one poster.
Beautiful.
So, but you can make direct contributions to the organization of your choice.
Are you maintaining a sense of optimism?
You mean like for Ukraine or for
Just
America?
in general.
Just in general, I think you have to. I don't get up and, dance, thinking, oh, what a beautiful morning. But,
Are you sure? Because I would love a video of that.
Get the back scrubber and everything.
we'll talk later. 1995. But, I think you have to maintain a sense of optimism, or, every day that, everything's going to be all right somehow. Because if you don't, then what else do you have left?
Yeah, what's it all for?
What's it all for?
Yeah.
You have to get up in the morning, and even if the highlight of your day is sitting in the recliner watching a baseball game, that's a successful day if you do it, right?
Yeah, you're alive. You're doing something that you enjoy.
Right. So, but then you get up. Got days I come in here, I may not particularly care about the show or want to I might not want to leave the house, but you gotta look forward to something going right. And then usually, like I said, there's days you wake up, you don't want to go, you might wake up and not want to play, and you go, oh man, and then you get there, and then like the end of the night, you're like, that was fun.
Yeah, I didn't feel worse because I did it.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
That internal resistance as anyone creative is a constant battle. I've never met a person that has completely overcome it, but I have found that the people that can keep it in check are the ones who are just relentlessly keep going at it, even when they have those days where it's like, I don't fucking want to do this.
Yeah, right. And believe, there's days you feel like you don't want to get up and you don't want to go and do it. I got ideas for 3 songs, and the guys want to practice them tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, boom. You know what I mean? And it works out, and it was all worth it.
So to our audience at home, to keep it real vague and inspirational, do the thing. You won't feel worse for doing the thing.
That's right.
Just do it.
Do the thing. Even if you might not feel like it. Yeah, that would be a great T-shirt, Devin, just to have like a picture of you going like, do the thing.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. Somebody, you got any final words?
That's all I've got. I think you've answered all the questions that were floating around in my brain.
Not anything you wanted to add?
No, not particularly. I think we've done a fairly extensive job here.
Any shows to plug? Any ways people can find your music?
Well, we do every Thursday here, 6 to 8. We got a couple shows coming up in Lockport we're working on. I can't give you dates yet because we haven't solidified them. They're makeup dates. So
All right, well, everyone, make sure you keep an eye on what he's got coming up, so when those dates get finalized, you can go and see them.
All right. Well, I guess with that, I'm Devin Mullen.
And I'm Mike Shamil.
This has been Don Wegrzynowski. This is Nietzsche's. And this is the Eighth Note Sessions. We'll catch you next time.
Now everyone's pissed. The FBI's prosecuting. The only ones bothered are the highfalutin. 'Cause we're beating cops with a flag.